I love cars. I've read about cars. I know Porsches. I know BMW M3s before I got into university. How come my lecturers are not talking about stuff like this?
What if transforming Nigeria's automotive landscape wasn't just about building cars, but about reshaping the nation's future through skills, innovation, and passion?
If you're good at what you do, if you're in a hole, people would look for you. So they looked for me in the hole because they thought I was good at what I did.
Oluseun Olawore didn't simply dream about Nigeria's automotive possibilities. He took definitive action, creating groundbreaking prototypes and inspiring a new generation of engineers and creators.
Like my friend would say, the love for the game is greater than the challenges. That's why we keep coming back.
When we start having people like you coming into this industry and redefining the space, flagging it off with pride, then perhaps more people will take pride in what they do.
You should wear your blue collar with pride. Being able to not just understand it, express that understanding. Know the reason why it is important for it to be done that way.
What initially ignited your passion for cars? What is it about cars? How did it evolve into a broader vision?
For me, it's an intertwined type of journey. I've always loved cars, and my upbringing isn't really different from most young boys that seek to have some toy cars when you're younger. You try to get your parents to buy you some toy cars, especially remote controlled ones, RC cars, right?
Yeah.
One thing I figured out back then was how come these remote control cars that they buy for me spoils on time? Before you know it, the thing is not working again. And our folks, God bless them, they didn't know how to communicate other than to beat us back then. Right?
African parents.
Yeah, it was just, this thing I bought for you was working last week. It's no longer working now. Come, let me show you something. That's showing something. You know when your parents do that and say, come, let me show you something. You know, you're about to
Smack in the butt.
you know. So the fear of that smack in the butt made me try to learn how to try to repair these cars. Some glue here, get some sellotape here, bind it back together, let it at least look in one piece. And I'm the firstborn of 4 boys, right? I'm like the guy that is meant to set examples for the younger ones. But because I was also trying to figure out my life, I was making a lot of mistakes. I'm like the king of mistakes. I think that having made a lot of mistakes has made me very experienced in some areas, right? So fixing this car and that captured my dad's attention to say, there might be something here. Let me try this out. So one day he went out. There's this place called University of Suya on Allen Avenue back then.
Oh, yes, I remember.
Yeah, there was this magazine shack right beside it and all that. So my dad would walk in whilst buying Suya for the house, and then he would pick a car magazine, like a Car and Driver, Motor Trend, or simply Car. You know, those magazines were UK and US magazines. He would buy it and then bring them back home. I would get so fascinated that I would read every single print in those magazines, including the advert pages, including what does not even concern me to be read. I was that, as a little kid, you know, when kids show some signs of interest in something, they're like sponges, right? They're going to absorb as much as they
soak it all
can.
in.
Exactly. So I was just soaking up a lot. I didn't know what it was until it was time to go to university and you had to choose a course. From back then, back to our parents, you have to be a professional person, engineering, law, or medicine. If you're not doing any of those, you're not really that serious. What do you do with your life? So I went for mechanical engineering just because I've been in that car space. Before then, as a first child, nobody taught me how to drive cars, right? But I would watch my dad and all that. I was so inquisitive. I just wanted to learn how to drive. All of that together, you know, was apparent to my dad that this guy likes cars. So when I said mechanical engineering, he was like, okay, let's do it, right? Unilag, I couldn't get in. I got into Lautech Ogbomoso. Lautech Ogbomoso was interesting because it formed me in a different way. In year 1, everyone did the same courses. In year 2, you have to specialize. Everybody goes to their different faculties. And I realized that my professors were not really into cars. So I was asking myself, mechanical
What am I
engineering,
doing
am I
here?
in the wrong course? I figured that I was in the wrong course because everything I heard in class was not what I wanted to hear. I was hearing too many theories about calculations of thermodynamics, fluid mechanics, and all sorts of other things, right? So physics principles, very nice. You need them. I'm science oriented, I would always be. But for some reason, I love cars. I've read about cars. I know Porsches. I know BMW M3s before I got into university. How come my lecturers are not talking about stuff like
These
this?
things.
Naturally, I got uninterested in classes. I was just not interested in whatever the lecturer had to do. I put them in a place. I said to myself that I was smarter than them. Wrong. But I just put them in a place and said, you know what? If what I've come here to do is not what these guys are
Valid.
telling me, I would find a way myself. So I started drinking a lot of beer with my guys. So when the lecture starts, I'll just get up. I'm going to the pub.
That's an interesting reaction.
Yo, very crazy. And some people that knew this guy liked to drink a lot would get up with me in class and say, what is in law? Because I would buy drinks as well, right? People wanted to hang out with me because I'll tell them the future. I'll be like, guys, I will fix your cars when we get out of school. That's the part that tripped them the most. I told them in year 2 what I'm doing now.
Now that's amazing.
Yeah, and it was so shocking that I didn't go to classes, but I'm the one practicing that which was taught in their class. So out of a class of, say, 300 and so people, I might be the only one that is practicing what should have been taught in class. Yeah, so I learned automotive engineering myself. Nothing.
Is there a course like that, automotive
Yes,
engineering,
absolutely.
in Nigeria?
Now I hear they have them in CU, Covenant and Co, the newer universities.
Right.
Some of my employees graduated from some of these universities and all that. And then we go to tell them, this is the first time a round peg is going to be fitting into a round hole. Otherwise, people my age and my generation that did engineering works in oil and gas company, making money, forgetting about the passion, right? So I chose passion instead of money. I stayed broke for a long while and chased the dream. And the only reason why an entrepreneur will tell you he's broke is that rather than carry the money and spend like every other person, you're carrying the money to reinvest in stuff that you're doing.
Absolutely.
It seemed like I was broke a while. I knew I was going to fix cars and I knew I was going to build cars. I didn't know how, but I just knew it was going to happen. When I graduated or left school, my dad said to me, so what do you want to do? I said, well, you work in Ajip Nigeria PLC. Let me work in Ajip for a bit, and all that. So I joined Ajip for about a year or two, just to say that I also worked in a multinational oil and gas company. And then one day I said to him, Daddy, it's time. I'm setting up a workshop at the back of the house. That land there, we are not using it. I'm firstborn.
What else? My house.
You get. So he was like, okay, you know what? Set up a little bit of a shed and then let's see how it goes from there. So I set up a thing that looked like a kiosk that you can just reverse one car into. Then Pimp My Ride was trending, right?
I remember that.
It made me focus on something. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can actually do this. A car makeover from beginning to end in all departments. So from day one in 2002, I set up a one-stop shop that did everything. Electricals, panel beating, painting, mechanicals in one place and upholstery, right? So before you set up this as a business, Cheryl, you have to know what you're doing. My mom has a school. They wanted to get some buses done. So I said, bring it, let me paint. What's there? If you saw my first paint job, oh God. It was so rubbish. The love of a mother was what made us say, they try you. Hey, yeah, you tried, my son. Come. Rubbish. For people that understand painting and all that, if you mix acrylic paint without the hardener, apply it, and then mix clear coat with hardener and put on it, it will just crack everything. That's what happened to me. That was when I realized that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, the passion is on the one side. The technicals of it is different, right? So you need to get competent hands. And then I started my book journey. I'm a book nerd. I have over 2,000 books on everything.
Okay.
I like to have an idea of almost everything. So there's almost no topic you can start that I won't be able to contribute. That entrepreneurial myth, E-myth, Michael Gerber, a lot of people have read that book, right? You set up a business, you think everything is going on, and then the business starts to overwhelm you. You're running from pillar to post. You're wondering, oh my goodness, how am I going to meet up the orders? I have to employ this people and that person. It was like that for me as well, until I now said, okay, you know what, Sean, relax. How many departments? 5. How many people do you want per department? Painters, I got mechanics, I got panel beaters, I got electrical guys or upholstery guys in one place. 1 year later, I said to my parents, I have to expand. The kiosk that I built is not containing me anymore. 12 months. My parents were like, look at this guy, had no idea what he wanted to do, but it seemed like he was very serious, set up something, and all of a sudden, the compound can't contain him. So what are we going to do? I have to build a warehouse here. Warehouse, how much is it? Wait, let me call contractor. Warehouse, how much? 16 million. This was 2005.
1 year after school. You are done at how many years?
I done
did you...
Ajib 2002.
Okay.
So that was 2003. Since my parents told me, Baba, no money, 12, 16 million. Okay, how? Only you. I beg. I have 3 other children. So my mom, being my biggest cheerleader, said, you know what, let's take it step by step. What's the first thing you need? I said, I need to buy 17 pillars for the warehouse. How much is it? Maybe like 300 or 400K. Everything I needed at the first tranche was like 800K. My mom took money from her school and gave it to me. So I put that up and put the long span roof on it. No walls yet, just the structure and roof. My dad came back one day and said, what's going on here?
What happened here?
Shebi, you don't have 12 million to us. We were already building it. So. Okay, so how much do you need for the walls? And we need this, that. Before you knew it, I built a warehouse without having no knowledge of building. But because structures in engineering is all encompassing, you have to understand drawings, things that are erect, measurements, dimensions, and all that. It made me able to figure out.
So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
This building, this warehouse, you built yourself.
Absolutely.
From experience of school.
Yes.
Of the classes you refused to go to, and you would go to a pub instead.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Should I go on?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I built the warehouse eventually and then set up Auto Graphics. I was looking for a name, Auto Car Graphics, because Paint My Ride was about painting some flames, some stripes, and some really, bold colors on cars. So I wanted to represent that in a name as well, Auto Graphics. I started that behind my father's house. All my customers lived in Lekki and on the island. This workshop was on the mainland on Ikorodu Road towards Ikorodu. People would drive all the way. And back then, you would hear people say, if you're good at what you do, if you're in a hole, people would look for you. So they looked for me in the hole.
Amazing.
Right? Because they thought I was good at what I did.
They thought?
Yes, I said that because I tried to look at what the regular guys were doing. Painting of cars back then was like 40K. I was doing it as new entrant for 150K. And the dollar was 120, 150 naira to a dollar.
Also, you were painting at over $1,000.
At about $1,000 at the entry stage. Today, we still paint $1,000. So I've kept that as a constant. Standard. People would look at me back then as, we are too entitled. How long have you been at this industry for that you are doing this? But you look at the finished work and it seems like he knows what he's doing. Because, like I said, I've got a lot of books, motor books, how-to books, how to paint your car, how to do stripes, how to wire your car, how to do this. I have a lot of those. I set up my life around those books. So for me, I knew what I was doing. I was already giving a higher standard than your average artisan out there. I'm reading from an American guy who's used to a very critical society and has a certain level of knowledge. He's written a book. I've read that book and I'm practicing what I've read there. So it seemed like my work was outstanding. All right. So we went on and on until I was like, you know what? Why are customers not coming to me again? What's going on here? BRT lane.
Oh, this was
Fashola.
After how many years?
This was maybe... When was Fashola the governor?
I remember the year.
A couple years after, I realized that the introduction of the BRT lane made the lanes narrow made traffic really bad. Island guys
Oh,
started telling me, your workshop is far.
I
If you are the
cannot come
best, I
there.
will settle for second best in my Adugo. I know you are the best. It's okay. God bless you in your best over there. But you see this traffic? I'm not stepping in here, right? That affected finances for a while. I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I ride motorcycles. I've been riding for almost the same time I've been doing this work, right? So I've been riding for over 2 decades. And I belong to a motorcycle club. And one of my guys in there owned Metro Bus and Metro Taxi at the time, right? That the big red buses,
Yeah.
100 of them and maybe 200 taxis. So he's got this workshop in Magodo that he thought wasn't very optimally used. Sean, would you like to use my Magodo workshop and then let's get into some kind of partnership? Me that wants to leave place that customer are not coming again. Yes, let's do this, right? So I moved to Magodo in 2016, spent 2 years there, and then for some reason I knew I had to be closer to my customers. If my customers live in Lekki and the islands, why am I not beside them?
Why are you on
Right.
the mainland?
I'm not saying that the mainland guys are not my clients. I'm only saying that from the data that I had, people that came to me came from a certain direction. So let me move there. My parents, my friends were like, no, don't move there. Rent, Lekki, from Agodo, Bobo, business.
Rent will
You know,
kill
how
you.
you? I'm like, yo, bro, you guys don't know. I'm going closer to my guys. So I came to Lekki 2018, built the workshop in like 3 months, right? Whilst building, people were telling me, Bobo, are you sure they will come? This one that you're sinking money here. Are you sure people will come? Like, yo, bro, I know what I'm saying, right? I finished building the workshop, and then 2 days later, I had like 12 cars there. People were like, oh,
It
but
was
this
like
guy,
they were waiting
this guy
for
knows what
you.
he's saying, you know. Yes, because all I had to do was, hey, bro, Alpha, I'm in Lekki now. What? Where? And then they start coming. That was it, right? And then I continued my maintenance work and all that. Then one day, my dad said to me, Oshibajo, former vice president, my dad knows him. So he said, yo, Sean, I told the VP that you have plans to build a cow. And I told him when he came to your wedding to officiate, are you going to build this car or not? Because me, I'd totally forgotten that I wanted to build a car. I'd attempted to build a car when I was in 2010. I was living
Oh.
in 1004 back then, me and two other guys. It didn't really work out. I finished the car, it drove, but it wasn't my standard, so I kind of kept it under wraps. In 2019, I announced to myself, you know what, Sean, if for nothing, try to do this. You already have the experience of maintenance over a 25-year period. You know how to service all engines, repair, suspension, bodyworks, interior, wiring, painting. What's left?
What is left?
Okay, so what is left was automotive drawing and stuff. So can you sketch a car? I can't sketch a car. YouTube, where are you? YouTube is my best friend. YouTube, Pinterest, those are my best apps. And a reading app like that. All right. So I went to YouTube. How do I do this? Right. And I started learning how to sketch cars and all that. So one day I woke up and said to my guys, we're building cars today.
Confusion.
My staff were like, this Oga, because they see me as a headache. Once this guy comes, his own bala is too much. He will be telling us, see this scratch, come and remove it. And they will tell me, Oga, the customer cannot see this scratch. Why are you stressing us? Me, I can see it, so remove it. So they can see me as that guy that is too finicky. Once I come to work, everyone is trying to dodge. Like, oh, this guy has come again. And then he's not telling us he wants to build a car. Anyway, let's hear him out. Guys, we are building a car, a sports car, and it's going to be a rear engine, like a Ferrari. Back engine. Everybody will look at themselves like, what is the day, my boy? What is the day? All right. So we started. It took me about 3 months to even get the suspension right. It took me about 2.5 years to complete the car. During the build, a friend of ours, Charles of Play, came through and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm building a car." You're building this car like this? I said, "Yes." "How much is it?" I said, "It's not for sale. It's my first car." He said, "How much is it? I want to buy it." I said, "I've not finished building it. I don't even know how it's going to perform. But how much is it? I want to buy it." It's an emotional decision.
Wow.
So I said, 15 million. Guy said, "Done." I'm like, "Hey, God, should I have said 30? But just said done like that. There's no way to revisit this negotiation. Okay, no problem, done. Baba said, give me account number, wired us some money. All of a sudden, the project that seemed like I was struggling at, I just had money, and then
Just
I could
start
order
moving.
things, Amazon, give me this, give me that, and all that. I did that car, and then I wasn't satisfied. I was like, no way. This didn't come out well. The kind of person Shion is, if I release this car, guilt will bite me. I can't release this car. Meanwhile, the guy was like, yo, Shion, how far? I've given you money.
I
Where
paid you.
is my car? I'm like, bro, I'm sorry. That car didn't come out well, but I have to build another car for you. What do you mean? It didn't come out well? I said, I told you before, I've not built a car before, right? This is the first one, right? So you have to like understand. But because I'm a gentleman, I'm not going to say, see your money is in that car. It didn't work out, and that's it. I will use fresh money to build you another car. When I told my guys, look at this car, you like it, right? It's good, it's not so good. It's wonky, it makes a lot of noise when you test it, it's not so straight. No problem, it's the first attempt. Don't feel bad. Oh yeah, let's start again.
You built this car from scratch.
From scratch.
Like
from
frame.
nothing.
You built the frame.
Yes.
Then you put engine.
Yes.
Then you put all the wires.
Yes. I'll run you through the stages. Let me just go over the story and then I'll come back to the detail. We started building the second one. This time around, the boys already knew we could do it.
So they had more confidence.
All what we were paying attention on this time was how to do it differently than the first time. How to do it well.
Right.
All right. So we started. The second one, we spent 5 months. The first was 2.5 years. The second was 5 months. It was November to March.
Okay.
Yeah. It was November to March, November of 2022 to March of 23. Once it was done, he still had some issues. I'd not really tested. Engine wasn't performing properly and all that. Charles, the owner of the car, was like, Bobo, how far this car? Send me a picture. I sent him a picture of the supposedly finished outside, but obviously the performance wasn't really good yet. The guy was like, oh my goodness, this looks very, very beautiful. Let's post Instagram. I'm like, Bobo, no. Let's post now. Sean, what are you afraid of? Sean, don't worry, let's post. Once you post this, you will see the reaction of people, and then before you know it, you will attract what needs to be attracted, and then we'll start. Okay, guys, let's post. And then we posted. Oh my goodness. The reactions were so crazy. I couldn't even sleep. I was just there responding to everyone because people ask questions like, really? You built this? For sure? How? Where? How?
With
Who
what?
are you? In fact, other people now came through and said, no, you didn't build it.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. If you built it, show us process picture. Yeah? That's all. We have process now. Post. Another person will be like, okay, we've seen a process. But does the car drive? Oh yeah, video. We entered. I'll go and do 360, do burnouts in my street, record that, post. The car performs, it looks nice and all that. But the dashboard is analog. At that point, I was like, you see what, this is Nigeria.
It can never satisfy you.
So I started to learn, started to grow, and my responses started to change. Like, guys, it is a prototype. A prototype is a car that you want to make eventually, but you're making an example of. It's like a demo of it, right? If it's got an analog speedometer now, the finished one can have digital. It's not a problem. You already know that the provision is there. The space is there. The fitment is there. Dashboard was built by us. Seats were built by us. Floor by us. Roof by us. Fenders by us. Doors, bonnets, headlights, rear lights, the things that we didn't build, engine, gearbox, wires, brakes, and the wheels.
Wow.
Are the things that we didn't build. And if you look at Mercedes, Toyota, BMW, Rolls-Royce, none of them makes their cars 100%. It's sourced from different manufacturers. Like the NGK company will make the spark plugs, the Bosch company will make the modules, the headlight companies will make the headlights. Mercedes can now begin to press the sheet metal to form the doors, the boots, and all of that. So it's a joint effort.
So that's standard industry practice.
Standard. Nobody makes everything. Pagani, Pagani is a lovely luxury brand that features or sports a Mercedes V12 engine, AMG engine. He has that agreement with them to supply the AMG engine for him to build the sports cars.
Oh, I get that.
So
now.
even it's got a Mercedes engine and all that, like VWs now. VW, because they own Bentley, Bugatti, and the rest of them, you would find that the VW Phaeton has got the same W12.
Oh, that's how it's pronounced.
Yes.
Phantom is Phaeton.
I'm saying VW Phaeton is a car.
Okay, that's a different car.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Phaeton, I think.
Phaeton.
Has got a 12 or V8 engine. I think it's a W8 engine that fits in the Bentley.
Right.
So
okay.
it's still the same company. Audi, all of them, same company. So because VW is the biggest, in my opinion, company in Europe, they've got all the brands under them. Porsche, VW themselves, Audi, Bentley, Bugatti, and a whole host of others. But eventually, we want to get into a strategic partnership with some technical companies, the likes of, or even if it's Mercedes or Kia or Toyota, to say, you know what, give us an engine, drivetrain, and electricals. We'll build the body on it. It's to be a joint venture type of thing, right? But before they believe you, they have to see what you've done. So we're on the third prototype now, and the aim of the third one is to make the second one look ugly. That one that people say is pretty, we want to make it look ugly by making the third one. And the third one's name is Envy. So it's OMC. OMC is the brand name, Olawore Motor Company.
Oh, I love that. I love that you've chosen to use your name.
Yes. OMC MV. The older one is OMC Charlie from Charles of Play. We named it after him.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And people will say, OMC is nice, but why Olawore Motor Company? Why your name is not so catchy? Why don't you look for something like Phoenix?
Who is Phoenix?
I said to them, do you know Christian von Koenigsegg? They said, yeah, that Swedish guy that makes sports cars. I said, can you see my tongue? How hard it is? We learned to pronounce that guy's name.
They will learn Olawore.
You will learn how to pronounce Olawore.
I love that.
You don't have a choice.
I love that.
Yeah, it's a legacy thing. If you can pronounce Bentley, you will learn how to pronounce Olawore. If you can pronounce Audi, Soichiro Honda, Toyota, those are their names. Those are family names. And if I've moved from a regular maintenance guy that does your service, your body works and all that, to an automotive designer, fabricator, and manufacturer,
your name deserves to be
please,
on it.
I
100%.
demand the flowers.
Please take it.
Yeah.
Please take
it. It has to be my name. You will learn it whether, So the OMC part is like GMC, like General Motor Company, right? GMC. Right, yeah. OMC is easy, but the real thing there is my last name. I need to make my dad and my whole family proud, as well as everyone that bears that name to be like, oh boy, there's a car in our name on this earth.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Right. It's
bragging right for life.
Yo, you got it.
For life. I love it. I love it.
That's the story. I know I've jumped here and there because I also didn't want to give you so much of the details, but that's the story. I came from someone that was meant to study something, discovered that was not what he was meant to study, then didn't study at all, then just played through, knowing fully well where he was going to end up, then learned one or two things to start that thing where he wants to end up, and then took and owned that space for 2 decades.
Your story is very inspiring.
Thank you.
Especially from a perspective of, it feels like you were born for this.
Now I can tell you I am.
Yeah.
I didn't know then, but I think I am now.
Because the story you told as a kid, it happened to almost every kid. And these are things that you find young people discuss now. With the whole African parent thing, people discuss that sometimes, even almost from a negative perspective. But look how it has shaped you. The same experiences that some people have gone through with their African parents, and they blame for their quote and unquote failure, is the same experience that has channeled your journey from breaking cars, from fear of discipline, It got you into fixing those toy cars. And most importantly, your dad took notes. Side eyeing you, watching you, this kid, there must be something there. Then, as every parent would, went a step further to test that interest by getting you books, seeing how you followed through and through. How did you survive the university? If from your 200 level, you already felt that, come, you see these lecturers, eh? I know more than all of you. I imagine that there must have been some level of respect that you would have lost for those lecturers. You felt like there was something you were looking for and you couldn't find it within that school system. Engineering is a 5-year course, correct?
Yes, 5 years.
How did you survive 3 years still in school? What happened? How did you pull through that? Why didn't you drop out?
It was easy. Very, very easy.
How so?
It was so easy, it was like a curse. So what I mean by that is, because I already knew from a young age where I was going to, it made me disregard everything school. Because I wouldn't go into the classes, it means I didn't have continuous assessments, right? So when the times of exams came through, and I did the best in my exams, I probably would still get a D or even an E. So I didn't have the best results, but I was too arrogant to care. I knew that I didn't need the certificate to do anything, but I was so enjoying that social life that I looked forward to drinking beer every day. That's why I said it was easy. It was easy. I went to school to drink.
How were you funding these lifestyles?
Whilst my friends would have pocket monies back then of maybe like 200K, 100K, I was in uni between 96 and 2000.
Okay.
Yeah. And 100K or 200K pocket money at that time was like a proper loot. But because I didn't have that, my dad did something that I didn't like but helped me. He would give me only money to last me for 2 weeks. And he would come all the way from Lagos to Ogbomoso to give me money for the next 2 weeks. And he will come all the way to give me money for the next 2 weeks as well.
Wow.
Now, because I didn't like that, I didn't have bulk money. But I was one of the few guys that were liquid from beginning of the semester to the end.
So managed your inflow.
Absolutely. But then it also made me a kingpin. I was that guy that could walk into any bar and ask for drinks on credit because I was sure to pay. If you ask Lautech guys that went to school at the time I went to school, they will tell you my name was Achoms. Achoms made the whole school drunk. The whole school. It was my life's work to see you drunk.
Work.
Yeah. So I will go to school and be like, who is the baddest guy here? You, Abby. You. Okay, you know what? Come, let me show you something. Barman, he was, right? I was one of them few guys that could do 10, 12 bottles of big stouts when it was impossible to do. We will be drunk. It's just that we can manage it. That time, Osu was Osu, right? We will go to those schools just to go and drink. Say, who is your baddest drinker in this school? Let's do.
Wow.
That's why I said it was easy. Remember what I said. The fact that I knew where I was going, I knew how I was going to get there. And I knew that the school was not the road for me to get there. I made the school a playground. I was in school, but I wasn't going to school. Imagine my parents that thought their son, a genius son, is at school trying to study, but a genius son is like drinking beer, right? But then again, when it was time to graduate, people were leaving and I was getting extras and all that.
Wow.
I was already being left in school by my peers. It dawned on me that I needed to get back into the public markets, or what do they call it now? Into the work environment. Yes. So that was when I left school and went to work in Ajib. I spent 2 years in Ajib, just in maintenance department. We go to one Oga's house, you fix their ACs, fix their plumbing works, fix their electrical works and all that. That was what I was doing in maintenance department. Requests for service, requests for maintenance, RFQs, RFMs, all those things, right? Then one day I was like, I beg. This is not
This
what I
is
want to
not
do.
it.
Yeah. So that was where the story of mommy, I want to build a warehouse, I take a 800K
Wow.
start and all that. So that's how it is, right? Went through school very easily because it was just, it was partying.
Yeah.
I was in social clubs where we had raves. People would invite you from other schools. I had time to go. What was there? What are we doing? After when I come back, it's not as if I've done the assignment. So I'll still get a 0 in all of those things. Right? So now I would say that my lecturers were not dumb. They just weren't doing what I expected from the school. Because if you look at what mechanical engineering is, it is still required. Mechanical engineering is one of them engineering that is found in almost every aspect of life. In civil works, there's mechanisms that require mechanical engineering, knowledge. In medicine, in everything, But automotive engineering is the engineering of cars.
And that was really where your
That
interest
was my focus, not engineering of every other thing.
Right.
I wasn't prepared to learn how to engineer a tractor or an earth mover and all that at the time. Right now, yeah, maybe because I'm very curious like that. The only thing I've not learned, and for a good reason, is aeronautics. I'm like, plane, where the leg not touch ground. I never leave that first. My first leave down. But obviously, drone making, flying them, and all that, easy peasy. It's an easier aspect of aeronautics that we can get into. But obviously, the real deal, you require some specialties and a group of really talented people to pull that through.
I think you found favor quickly in this line, and which is why I said it feels like you were born for this, right?
Favor about
So which is where my next question is. In the earlier stages, do you remember any specific or set of challenges that you experienced putting this together, especially seeing that it's pretty much almost like you were self-taught? Of course, mechanical engineering, some sort of engineering thinking would have been put into you at least a few days you went to class. But how did you navigate those challenges in the early stages of your business?
It was very challenging, but I learned through reading the experiences of people that had gone through that, through those books I've mentioned about, what these challenges would be, so I could expect them. One of my most significant challenge back then would be the fact that I didn't know advertising, 0. I was in Owode, Oniri, on the way to Ikorodu, and I would expect people to come to me without them knowing where I was and what I did. So the challenge would be that we would get broke, and then you'll be wondering how you would pay salaries. But for some reason, magically, at the 3rd week of the month, clients would come with enough money to do the work and pay the salaries. So for 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks, I would be clueless, running from pillar to post. Then magically, at the 4th week, something would happen that would make that happen. So I learned that people would not just come to you, Sean. They have to know where you are, what you're doing. But because you're not an outdoorsy person, you're not an online type person, what are you going to do about this? So I leveraged my colleagues, my staff, my people that worked with me, their own social media presence. And they would also manage the company's Facebook account. And I started getting some likes, some friend requests. I'd done cars for some celebrities back then. Teju Babyface was my riding partner. I did his cars. Dayo Adeneye, D1. I did the Hummers as well as the Range Rovers. I started getting some real important people that would also spread some word. That's how we grew organically. So it was challenges upon challenges. At some point, it was also getting competent hands. My standard is up here, but every other person is down there. You need to bring them to your standard. Some would resist because they're like, no, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm not about to learn what you're trying to teach me. What if I'm not with you tomorrow? I'll now unlearn what I've learned.
And
Now come and
start
cover me.
again.
No, they had those kind of rebellious whatever. But when return jobs came back, it wasn't a good experience. You're having to face the jobs that you could have done right the first time.
Right.
So those were challenges, but I found out later most workshops, most businesses would go through those kind of challenges as well, So it wasn't all beds of roses and all that, but it was interesting. Like my friend Kaz Customs would say, the love for the game is greater than the challenges. That's why we keep coming back. That's it.
Interesting. So you transitioned from, or should I say you're transitioning from
I'm still in the
maintenance
process. Yes.
to now building and manufacturing your cars.
Yeah.
How would you say you approach innovation, especially when you're designing your prototype?
A few days ago, I was just pondering because I realized that to build a manufacturing company isn't that easy. It occurred to me that we are a P&T company. We're a people and technology company. We try to take those engineers that never thought they were ever going to practice their engineering into an environment whereby they would practice and feel fulfilled. Whilst doing this, we are leveraging technology such as the 3D printers, machine learning, AI, and all of that to make it easier for these people to carry out this service. So these people leveraging on technology is able to carry out this service. So innovation whilst building cars is the only way to go. You would find a challenge that you can no longer move forward because you have no idea. You have to research, you have to look at what other people have done, and then you have to now figure out how you want to apply that into your own project. Because obviously you don't have access to their patents, to their trademarks. You've only seen it and you want to now do yours. We know that we cannot build anything without people and technology. We are just about to be funded for the factory.
Congrats.
For us, it's surreal. I wake up every day and ask myself, this thing is really happening now. Me, like the normal, ordinary guy, we're about to build a factory that has the capacity of making 5,000 vehicles per year. We've transitioned from a maintenance company into a manufacturing company that would eventually build something bigger. So we are trying to build a little city that's got factories in them, has got accommodation for people that work in the factories. I've got schools for the children of people that work in the factory. So we're going to have our own farms. We're going to make our own food. We're going to...
This is fascinating.
Yeah, so each of those businesses
is
self-sustaining. Absolutely. So it's way bigger than me, way bigger than my team. So that's why we know that leveraging partnerships, collaborations, and all that is the way to very, very...
Have you visited car manufacturing hubs around the world to see how things are done or to be inspired? I know, of course, you said that you read wide, YouTube is your friend. I was just wondering if you have visited a couple physically, and if you have, how has that influenced the practices that you have, and especially now that you're also going into building your own factory, how has that influenced you?
2016, I left Lagos. First point of call was Barcelona. I went to watch Formula One. Right. And then I went to Le Mans in France to watch MotoGP race bikes. I'm a biker, of course. And then from there, I said, you know what? I'm already here in Europe. Let me go and visit Lamborghini. So I went to Santa Gata, Lamborghini factory. I paid for premium.
She.
Gave me access. I just entered easily. Because of that, the factory tour guide took interest in me somewhat. Like, this guy, who are you? I say, first and foremost, I'm a car guy. I want to see if you guys can convince me from the Porsche side. I'm a Porsche guy. I have a 911 at home. For real? So the tour went really nice. When we go to the leather aspect, I would see that they would spread leather materials out. They are looking for mosquito bites in the leather. They will circle it or scratch it. Any of those imperfections will be laser cut out, such that the leather used for the seats in a Lamborghini or any of them luxury cars is perfect. And then I was like, Madam, all these offcuts from this leather, what happens to them?
You throw them away.
She said, we ship them to Ferrari. Everybody started laughing. She was like, I'm joking, but we get the joke. That obviously LV and the rest of them, luxury bag makers and all that, also come through for some of those. So Lamborghini for me was very interesting. It seemed like a small company, closely knit. They didn't do too many cars, but the cars that they did were very high quality. And whilst there, one of the people when they told a couple looked at an SVR and said, how much? I said $500,000. I bet we want one. Hey, God, just like that. They now started taking us around the people's order. See, this is the route to our tour. They're like, oh, you want that one? Okay,
someone has paid money.
You get me? So this, that. I saw them build an Aventador from scratch, different stages. The carbon fiber, monocoque, impregnated structures struck something in my head. I'm like, God, oh my God, this seemed easy for me. I can do this thing. I'll look at the factories, I'll look at everything. I'm like, okay, so when I get back, I'm going to build my own. It's going to look like this and all that. That was Lamborghini. You would think that was enough. Mercedes-Benz factory tour. Mercedes was opposite of Lamborghini and even Porsche. Mercedes was like Lekki Phase 1. Huge! 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 Porsche was compact because they didn't have land. So they built their factories such that your conveyor can take you up, down, and all that. Mercedes used everything laterally.
Right.
Huge place. And there I learned that maybe because of classisms, people do not generally put badges on their cars in the Mercedes-Benz factory. So a C63 or a C53, you can't tell. You can tell from the body kit that this is an AMG, but it doesn't have any badge on it. They don't want the guys driving the low-end ones to feel like they are
out of place.
and then the guys driving the other ones. So I really like Mercedes. Following day, guess where I went? Went to Porsche, looked at everything. I was very interested that during lunch break, they would step out to continue. And when those guys come back from break, these guys would go for their break just to ensure that there was no break in. I don't want to say transmission now, but break in that flow of production. Right. Very interesting. That was
so it was sort
of
they ran shift.
Yes.
They made sure production continued.
Yes. The conveyor belt in the factory keeps moving. If you don't do what you're meant to do, the car will move to the next station and the other guy will be wondering what's wrong with you. So you have to do what you're doing as the car is moving. You have to quickly do it. At the time it gets to this point, let it go, and then you start to do that. And then when it gets to this point, let it go. So that's your station.
So that would have been timed to perfection.
Absolutely. And then when I left Porsche, I went to Munich, BMW. I was like,
you've seen them all.
Oh, you've not even heard the China part. So I went to BMW, same thing, looked at the processes and all that, went to the museum, went to take pictures, and all that, bikes, BM bikes, Mini, the Mini brand is under them, Rolls Royce under them and all that, So, and then I left and decided to head to China. So I went to Yutong, I went to BYD, and I went to Zhongtong. Zhongtong is Z-H-O-N, like a Zong Tong. But it's pronounced as a J. Zhong. Yeah, just like Guangzhou, right? So I went to Zhongtong as well. Their factory is 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer.
1 kilometer up? How?
The factory length times breadth.
Breath.
It was a bus factory. And different things there as well, because we were buying buses for a Metro bus at the time. I and my business partner at that time went there. So I've seen these factories, and I knew for sure I could not return to Nigeria as the same old
You were
guy
inspired.
beyond my imaginations. So I was like, you know what? It has to happen. I saw an Aventador built in front of me, and you think I won't build a car. And if I would build a car in this Nigeria, you think it would look like those Pangolo and stuff that people build. Those guys are trying, I'm not saying they are not,
Yes.
right? But because I'm a car guy, I've been repairing cars first. Building a car will not make me build a mediocre one.
Right.
I'm already in the luxury space. I'm fixing Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Urus, and stuff for people. So how is it I'm going to build a car? It will not look like the cars that I'm fixing.
Right.
If you see the leather seats in the car, you would not believe we made it, because I made it look very luxurious. The design on the car, the headlights, the paint job, the wheels, everything looks like, yo. In fact, people will come to the workshop, walk past the car, because they will think it's a regular car. Until I say, come, have you seen this car before? I don't know. This looks like a Jaguar. I say, no, this is OMC Charlie, built by me. No way. That's where the reaction starts. Like, you built this? Oh my God, let me see what engine is in there and all that,
I mean, that's exactly how I felt the first time I saw it.
Absolutely, right? And then the third one we're building now is going to have a V12 engine. We need it to have as much power as a Lamborghini. So we're going to use 670 horsepower engine to build that one. Just it looks finer than any car anyone has ever seen.
You've called it envy.
Oh,
it has to.
Painting is green.
So
that is what? Green with envy. Yes, nah.
That's your byline already.
Yes, now so everybody's green with envy.
Amazing.
Now. Absolutely. It's really pretty because we have now seen that we can do it. We've seen that it's not just in a pipe dream, it's something that is achievable, and we are already on that. So it's a journey that is very interesting. We don't yet know where it's going to take us at the next turn, but we are ready for it.
Okay. So when I hear you speak, right, I don't only hear your passion. It's literally oozing out of you.
Yeah, people say that.
So how do you strike the balance between that passion, the love for it, the creativity, everything you want to do? I mean, you've gone to all of these places, you're so inspired. You just want to do this thing. How do you strike that balance between your creativity and profitability for your designs and this manufacturing that you're now going into? You're about to build factories. You're about to have investments coming. Those then will matter. How do you strike the balance?
I do have a life outside of my work, but I've made my work my life. Right? And it's easy for us because it's cars. It's easy to love cars.
Love cars.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't love clothes, but it's easy to love clothes. I don't love wristwatches, but it's easy to love wristwatches.
Right.
I'm saying these are things that already you have some really nice ones that once you have, you want to show off.
Right.
Cars are an extension of us. They're like our clothes.
Right.
Right? They're like a car that has ugly wheels is like a gentleman dressed up with ugly shoes. Yeah. So it's together, right? And something struck me during the 2020 lockdown. In fact, I built the first one majorly during the COVID whilst there was no work done. I spent a lot of time at the workshop trying to do things here and there. Then I came across a video of someone illustrating something to youngsters in a class, saying something about the difference between the small things you do in life and the big things you do in life. If you take a big jar and put big stones in it, you probably fill the jar up with 5 or 6 stones, big ones.
Right.
And then if you take smaller stones and put in there, they will find their way in there. Right. And then smaller pebbles will also find their way in there. When it seems like it's all full and you carry sand and you pour it in, the sand will still find its way in there.
Right.
And then when it's fully packed and you carry water and you pour it in, water will find its way in there. If you focus on water alone and pour water in the jar, The moment you put a stone in, it's going to spill. If you focus on the sand alone and you fill the jar up, you put a stone on there, it's not going to go in.
Right.
If you put all those other pebbles as well. So what I learned is that focus on the big things in life. I had focused on the small things forever. For me, the small things were the maintenance parts, right? You're doing paint jobs, service, this, that, little things. Looking at profitability in all those areas. Sometimes when you don't do it, you're like, hey, God, how am I going to pay salaries? All those kind of things. But then it occurred to me that if I were to do what is suggested in that video, it means what are the big things in my life that I want to achieve? All right. I'm 46 now. I will be 46 this year, right? And if I didn't start in 2019, which was like 6 years ago, I probably would not be here talking about stuff that we've done.
Right.
Yeah. So I decided to do the big things in life at some point, which was manufacturing. Let me focus on manufacturing. Let me focus on what needs to happen for that to be set up. And then the small things like service, paint jobs, and all that will take care of themselves. Right. At first, that would make profitability suffer until you understand structures in business and having to put people where they need to be so that the business can run without you. Right. So it is very important for me to focus on the thing I'm doing now because it seemed right now to me that I was put on this earth to solve these problems. So if we build vehicles that are eco-friendly, don't consume that much fuel, or consume an alternate renewable energy as fuel, then we are getting somewhere.
Filling the gaps.
We are filling the gaps. We are trying to extend our know-how to the average Nigerian. Imagine that we focused on building cars like Lamborghinis and all that. You are not really going to expect an average guy to bring $500,000 to come and buy a car from us, right? But
Not in this market.
not
Or a handful of them, really.
exactly. If I were to build eco-friendly buses, and I tell the average guys that your transportation from point A to point B that was 1K can now be 500 naira or 350 naira. It makes sense to that person because I've cut down significantly on the cost of transporting themselves and their goods from point A to point B. So we're actually building a bus factory.
Interesting. When you talk about this eco-friendly
Vehicles.
system,
Yeah.
you're not just talking about the cars or the consumption of it. I did hear you say something about the kind of things you want to put within the factory. It's going to have its own farms. It's going to have. So are you saying that in the long run, the system with which you're going to produce these cars will enable you to produce them in a more affordable way, which then increases your profitability? And that way you're merging this passion that you have, the creativity of it, and you're also still finding a way to balance it with earning and making money and making sure that the business is sustainable.
Yep.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, absolutely. So our focus is not just to build the cars, but to build cars from scratch. The federal government has given an incentive such that if you're building cars from scratch, CKD, completely knocked down vehicles, you have 0% import duties on all your parts.
Oh, okay. That's fantastic. And
Absolutely.
I imagine that also translates
Eventually,
into the
profitability.
vehicles.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then because these vehicles are coming in pieces, the floor, the walls, the roof, windscreen, seats, engine, wire, everything separate. Putting them together now makes us teach our own people, transfer that technology to them.
Okay, so you need to clarify something for me here. When you say they're coming in parts, floor, this, that. So the factory you're putting together now, is it still a manufacturing factory or you are
An assembly.
assembling cars?
Good. So, assembly, even I was very critical of this before. Assembly of cars is the way manufacturers manufacture their cars. The components are made by different people. If one company wants to focus on making every single component, right, then it's going to be a huge task. But it's possible. Why I say that is because BYD as a company has shown that that is possible. They are bigger than Tesla, bigger than every other person in terms of sales of their vehicles and in terms of manufacturing those vehicles because they have control over their back end. So
So they manufacture every part.
everything. In fact, they make batteries and modules, electrical systems.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. So what we are doing now is to be commercial. We cannot build cars in a bespoke way. Bespoke,
Okay, yeah,
right?
that makes
Like
sense.
I'm
Right.
just doing it to your taste.
Because the prototype you're doing now, or all the two that you've done so far have been sport cars.
So we moved from doing sports cars into doing public transportation vehicles. You can go to each of those components manufacturers and buy those components, buy engine, buy gearbox, buy wires, buy tires, buy everything, bring everything to Nigeria, 0%, and then weld, paint, and assemble. Because you're still going to weld. Welding means you're teaching your guys how to weld. Or fabricating, painting means you're teaching them industry standard in terms of how it's done over there. And then assembly, and then testing. Once everything is done, you have to test it for sound, test it for leakages. You have to have showers from all directions to simulate rainfall. Is there any leakage from the windows and all of those things? You have to test those. Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is when it has passed through all of this that it can become something that is deemed to be called a commercial vehicle. Yeah, like you can pass it on to a customer at that point. Assembling, but it is also a manufacturing process, right? So all these other manufacturers have test tracks attached to their factories. So if the test track is like 2 kilometers, by the time you go around 100 times, you've done 200 kilometers. So you can test your car to say, in 200 kilometers, my brake pad did this, or my tire did that, or my suspension did this, or whatever. And you can do that 200 kilometers for 10 days and have 2,000 kilometers instead of going from here to Maiduguri.
So you have spoken a lot about training, training different skills. You have to train the painters to paint properly. How are you approaching that capacity development? Do you intend, or do you already have a system in place where you are training all of these people? Or is it when the factory becomes reality that you would start this process? How do you feed your factory to produce as much as you need at that time? How are you approaching your workforce?
Cool. So the training institute would be fully set up at the time we are building the factory. But right now, we are already doing some training. Like I said, we already have a maintenance shop that still needs artisans and all that. Training for us is very, very key because Porsche has a principle. Regardless of the school that you go to, you have to go through their Porsche Training Institute before you can work in the company. It's kind of like saying that regardless of what you know, this is how we do it here.
Do they train people that don't work with them?
They trained only qualified people. Do you have a degree in whatever aspect you want to get a job in? Are you an electrical guy, mechanical guy, or whatever guy?
Okay.
What's your level of whatever? Okay, you say you know it's come through our training institute. Let's put you through some tests. We've seen that you've done very well, but you are not up to standard. Or we see that you've done very well and we like what you do. Welcome to Porsche. We're doing that as well.
That's fantastic.
The dream, they say if the dream is not big enough,
why do it?
Right.
So what gaps do you see? What skill gaps do you see in Nigeria's automotive industry that you're seeking to fill?
A lot.
And I ask this because there are probably so many people who, we're familiar with mechanics. Manufacturing seems far off from us. So there isn't a lot to look up to. So if someone was listening to this podcast and has been toying with the idea, oh my God, this won't be a bad idea. What are those spaces that there's a gap, and if we could find people and you're ready to train them, there will be opportunities for them here.
In fact, maybe the question should have been, where are there no gaps?
So there are gaps
Oh my
everywhere.
goodness. If you look
Wow.
at every single artisan and their jobs or job description or activities, it can be done better. If I were to change the windscreen of your car,
Yeah.
this is how the local guys will do it. They are going to pass a wire through the sealant, try to cut through the sealant all around, and then carry it out. In the developed countries, they have suction pumps that they put on the glass. So after they've freed it out, you can hold that suction and lift it out. That way, it has a handle. You are not risking breaking it or all
Breakage.
those things.
Right.
If you want to reinstall it, you have to first clean out the hardened sealant and then apply a new one. The new one you're applying has to be a certain thickness. Otherwise, by the time you put the windscreen back on, there might be a gap, and then there will be leakages during raining or when you're washing
Okay.
the cars.
Makes sense.
Right? I'm using that as an example that the application of the sealant itself requires some level of dexterity that is not in our artisans. Our artisans know the job, but they are not careful enough to look at it and do it in such a precise way. I tell my guys,
Is it a tool problem?
no, it's an approach problem. When we were younger in school, you'll be taught to read a ruler perpendicular to it. If you read the measurement this way, they will say
You're
it's
seeing
error due
something
to
wrong.
parallax, because if the thing was pointing to 7 here, by the time I'm looking at it, it might be pointing to something else. So it
Right.
needs to be
Right.
perpendicular to it. Measurements, doing things and not saying, you know what, they won't see it. You know, that's the gap. Panel beaters need to understand that you cannot just go under someone's car that the exhaust is leaking and say, I want to patch it. Then you look at the ground. Oh, there's one wire here. Let me melt it there. That wire you've picked on the ground has impurities, rusts, and stuff in it. By the time you melt them on a clean sheet of metal, you have introduced that impurity there. So if the exhaust is going to cut again, it will cut at that same
Exact
point.
spot.
That's why people were like, but I just fixed it. These guys know what they are doing. They just didn't do it correctly. Same thing with painters. Painters need to understand that even your fingerprint cannot touch the surface before you paint. That's why you have degreasers, something that removes greases. You know, you have oil on our skins and all that. You know, you can't have water in your airline. You have to have water separators and dryers. Otherwise, if water gets into the paint as you're applying it, it will cause fish eyes and holes that you would have to wait to dry and redo. Mechanics, same thing. You need a mechanic to understand that loosening a bolt and tightening it is not just brain. There's a tool for it. It's called a torque wrench. Most tires are torqued to a certain specification, maybe 110 Newton meters. Once it gets to 110, it makes a click sound. Click, click, you're there. Otherwise, you can use your brain and press it, and it may not be there, or it might go beyond. Then you are risking over tightening. The gap is in every single artisan department, if I can use it that way, in Nigeria.
If you were going to solve this problem, would you work with the already existing artisans that we have? Or would you rather work with fresh hands that you could train afresh?
I would like to work with fresh hands that have gone through a higher institution. I won't say only universities, including polytechnics and colleges of technology.
I think that counts. It counts a lot.
Not a lot per se, but yeah, hear me out. The reason is because of the reasoning that is being put in our heads by going into a higher institution. Being able to figure things out, being able to tinker and say, you know what, if I do this one, it's not working, maybe I should do it this way. That is it. But I have found that the artisans that are not so detailed in their work are more skilled than the guys in the universities. So you'll find that the artisans know the job, but they are not refined. The refined guys
Yes.
don't know
Know
the
the job.
practicals. So you find that
So
we have a
we
lot of
need a
youths.
balance.
We have a lot of youths that are unemployable. So it's not just unemployment. Are you employable? Do you know what it takes to fit in the role you want to fit in? The guys in school know it in terms of the theory. They have not done practicals that much. The guys that know the practical, they are in the field doing the work today, but they are a bit not refined.
How would you advise that gap gets filled? Because there are tons of people in the university
Yes.
right now,
That's why we are setting
and
up.
they're wondering, how then do they fill that gap?
Good. So for the university guys, it's very easy. Just move them from their theoretical, whatever, to practical. Let them start doing that which these
Who
guys.
does this? Who?
Our training institute.
Oh, great. Okay.
Our training institute would move guys from what you know in your university, your polytechnic, whatever, to street proper practicals. Yo, that's a car. I need you to drain the oil and remove the spark plugs now and tighten it back. I'm going to come back and inspect if that was done properly or not. For the artisans, they need to be taught reasoning and refinement. That's the difficult one.
That's hard.
That's the difficult one, because I find that you will tell this guy, do it this way. You'll be like, okay, sir. And then you'll walk away and come back and he's not doing it how you told him to do it. You're asking, but I told you to do it now. Yes, I'm not asking you to be used to it. I'm saying this is the way I'd like you to do it. Is that understood? Can you do it? Do you need me to show someone else how to do it so that you would not be in this role? Sir, I will do it. Oh, yeah, do it. Then he will do it. Then 3 days later, you come back. He's not doing it. Sir, my hand is paining me. So the refined part is the difficult part for the artisans. Right. The guy knows how to sleep under a car and just do some things. But if you tell him, why are you sleeping on the ground? There is a trolley that's got tires that you can lie on, that you can use to pull yourself under the car without being dirty. You can actually do mechanic work without being dirty. I am a mechanic, for God's sake. So it's very possible. If you check videos out on YouTube and you look at whatever, you see mechanics, neat guys.
Yes,
not that you won't get yourself dirty.
Oil. You won't see oil on the floor. The whole place isn't black. It looks so attractive.
Absolutely.
Like, if this is how this thing looks, I could do this.
Absolutely.
What are common misconceptions about your line of work and manufacturing of vehicles in Nigeria?
Misconceptions about my line of work.
When I say your line of work, I'm talking about repairs. In our word, mechanic work. Then also now building cars, made in Nigeria cars. What are common misconceptions that you think exist?
First, on the repairs perspective, I had a friend who walked into the workshop one day and said, this mechanic work now ain't gonna kill you one day. It was jokes, but I didn't find it funny. I was under pressure. I was doing something that demanded my attention, but he came through just trying to pass a very honest comment to say that, oh boy, you're passionate about your work, but it didn't come out right. People look at being a mechanic or being an auto technician as that low-level skill, how you treat your plumber. But you don't treat your plumber or your mechanic like that abroad. So I'm one of them rebel guys that I'm trying to tell you that whatever it is I'm doing for you, look at me as if you are abroad. Abroad, you can't afford my services. If I were a mechanic in America, you would not be able to. To fix a bumper in a fender bender that we can do for $150K here will probably cost you $3,000. Unless you find Mexicans that are going to repair it for you. Regular shops are going to tell you, replace. That's why you find a lot of cars in auctions and all that they're shipping over here and we are still repairing to fix. So you look at mechanics here as the rough guys, dirty, black.
Because that's what we see.
Those guys are not mechanics.
What are they?
Mechanic wannabes. They're not mechanics.
We need to pump out more mechanics.
Oh yeah, you should wear your blue collar with pride.
I love that. And I love to see a Nigeria
Yeah.
where that becomes a reality.
Absolutely.
Why do you have to lie on the floor? Why must you be dirty? I'm really looking forward to you and what you're doing, being able to change that space and in turn changing the larger perspective of our people and how we see some types of blue collared work, like you said, because they are necessities of a society. I was listening to a T-Pain song, I met a bartender.
Yeah.
Now, what struck me was this is a guy singing about someone he met a bartender and he's going crazy. It is not a thing of pride in our part of the world for you to
Bartender.
say you met a
You get me?
bartender. When we start having people like you coming into this industry and redefining the space and flagging it off with pride, then perhaps more people will take pride in what they do, irrespective of what any other person thinks. I'm really looking forward to what you're doing.
I am looking forward to it too, because we need the country to improve generally in terms of repairs. I find educated people that went to school, people that are my friends, repeat what a mechanic has said to them, and they're all saying the wrong things. They don't know what it is. For example, Oga, I'm a ribbit brake pad. And then the guy will not tell you,
Please, what
okay,
is
chauffeur ribbit. And the right word is rivet. Rivet.
Can I ask for something personal?
Oh, yeah.
See how you have named your company Olawore Motor Company.
Yes.
Perhaps we need to start using our own words in our own tongues
Yeah.
to describe some of these things. You know
Yeah.
how they'll say afetia or
Yes.
something?
Yes.
Because those are the people of authority within those spaces.
Yeah.
And when I hear ribbit, I don't know what they're trying to do. So naturally, I just think it is ribbit.
Okay.
If you say rivet to me, I know what rivet means. But
Yes.
I've never heard rivet in that sense. So
Yeah.
ribbit is ribbit.
Have you heard Boris?
Yes, Boris.
Do you know what it is?
No.
Ball bearings.
I was today years old.
Yes, sir. Bearings. Only
Bearing.
Boris. Yes.
It's
Boris
Boris.
84.
Bearings.
Bearings.
It has become our language. Oh.
So the artisans and their standards, because we depend on them for repairs and stuff,
Yes.
we've taken them as the lords.
Yes.
So we are now mirroring what they are saying, not knowing that they are all plus us saying absolute bunkers, absolute rubbish.
I wonder how an exchange program will look like in Nigeria when you bring foreigners.
I'm telling
foreign
you,
mechanics. That would be interesting to see. Foreign mechanics and our mechanics.
there will be a lot of clashes. So a mechanic needs to be able to open up this engine, look at everything, and knows what they do. This thing is the air vacuum. This is the air flow meter. This is the filter. This is that. These are the things these components do.
Right.
But here you'll be like, what does that thing do? What does it do? He's working with the fuel line, sir. Please, what does it specifically do, sir? If you remove it now, you'll see the fuel line will not work. I know, but what is it? If you don't know what it is, you will not know why it is there. That is working for the fuel line is not enough for you to know it. So I would say that our mechanics are very hands-on in terms of how we call it loose and tight. Remove something and put it back, but not necessarily what it does. That's why when the advent of the diagnostic tool came, it made a lot of mechanics redundant.
Oh.
Yeah, so you can't have a street guy come to your car now that has check engine and he will tell you what it is, because the car needs to tell him what the issue is. So you need to plug something to say, car, this check engine, what's going on with you? Spark plug number 6 is not working. Or there's a misfire in cylinder 6.
So that intelligence has rendered.
Yeah. So the
some
way
people
he will be able to
obsolete.
do it is, what's going on here? 3 is not working. Maybe it's 6. So instead of a certain approach. So it is that approach that we must change. Otherwise, the frustration is a lot. I am very finicky about stuff when it comes to mechanic work. I'm with people that are not as detailed as myself. They have been trained for the past 15 years.
Wow.
They are only better than the ones that are not that old. But it's not like they got the whole memo.
So on a regulatory perspective, are there ways that you could effectively navigate in Nigeria, especially? What are the infrastructural barriers, the challenges?
As a consumer or a service provider?
As a service provider?
Okay.
Consumers are easy.
Yeah. Okay, so as a service provider, if you have a certain standard, you are able to tell the people that this is the standard that I want. If you do not know their standard, then they are going to give to you that which they think is the standard.
They're able to give you the standard that you require of them
by micromanaging and sitting on their case. People will tell you,
how sustainable is that?
Exactly. How can you run a business this way?
How can you scale? How can you grow bigger?
Exactly.
What are the ways that we can navigate these barriers?
If we are able to make the artisans, low-skilled guys, pay more attention, teach them some of these technical things in their own language. Someone said to me that if we were taught science in Yoruba,
I believe that's 100%.
we probably would be going to the moon by now.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we have to first cross the barrier of the language
Exactly.
before we get to the assimilation of it.
Exactly.
So if we can teach these guys in a language they understand. One day I told my guys, what does precision mean to you? Somebody said, Tony. I said, yes, you are getting there. Someone said, Kashenkon, Fini. I said, you are getting there. See that thing that you people have said? That is what I want. How can you do this thing, Tony, for me? As in, how can you do this thing with... You get me? Because it needs to represent something in your language
that you understand
for you to be able to express it. You're getting me?
So
right?
it's an expression.
It is.
We need to take it away from a job I have to do. We need to take it to a point where they fully understand it and express it out.
It needs to come from within. Let me use a name, Wale. Wale, you are my AC guy. You are very good with dismantling dashboards and putting them back. But Wale, your issue is that when you are filling the gas of the AC, you don't fill it to maximum. Or sometimes you overfill it. Why don't you check the gauge when you are filling it on the cold side and ensure that it doesn't go past this particular thing? And they'll be like, okay, yes, sir, no problem. And then the next time you see him, he's looking at the gauge, but he cannot see what he's meant to be looking at. Have you ever gone to the market to buy something on a scale like fish, and the guy there is measuring something else for you? Yo, bro, I went to school. I know how to read this thing. Why are you reading pounds for me in kg? They look and be wondering, who is this guy? Being able to not just understand it, express that understanding. Know the reason why it is important for it to be done that way is not going to work. They need to understand it. Guys, we are going to build a bus. This bus we are going to build is not something that can go and come back as return job. You need to tick a lot of boxes. The guys in the factories in Lamborghini, Mercedes, and all that, they don't do it from their head, though. It's not muscle memory, it's not brain memory. It is a specification sheet.
So that's why they can reproduce the exact same thing.
Every single station has got a spec sheet, and the thing has to be exact every time. So you're not going to say, I've been doing it for many years. Here in Nigeria, if you ask someone that is an artisan, can you do this thing? I asked a carpenter one time, yo, I need this couch done very well. I'm very particular about the stitches. Can you make it? Do you know how a Nigerian will answer you, especially our guys? Okay, can you do this thing to look like this? That's the answer. Meaning, come on.
I've been doing this for donkey years.
Let him do it. Let him do it. Zero. And then I'll be like, but you just told me that. It's a huge problem. Your other question I didn't answer was that Nigeria made cars. There's a certain perception as well. We need to communicate that to the consumers, to the nation at large, that in this particular establishment, in this factory, specifications and instructions is very key.
From what you're saying now, would you say that some of the trends that you foresee, especially to earn the trust of the entire market for automobile companies like yours, will be to almost over communicate what you're doing to ensure that you get the buy-in of Nigerians? Or are there any other trends that you see in the nearest future for this industry that you're in?
I would agree with you that it has to be an over communication thing. You'd have to keep saying it because I like to teach people, especially my customers, a few things about their cars. If you know about your car, it's less headache for me. You're able to interpret it a certain way before you call me. Otherwise,
okay.
you're just going to be calling me for different. I'll give you an example. I finished servicing a lady's car at the workshop. She left the workshop and drove right to the gas station to buy petrol. As soon as she got there, she switched it off. She sat in the car and told the guy to fill up. The guy filled up. She gave the card, POS, did whatever. Same key. She only turned it back on and the car would not start. This is why I don't like servicing my cars with random people. The whole Mercedes Benz. Now, I don't know what you boys have done. I'm in the gas station and the car is not starting. I'm like, madam, it's not starting. Say yes. Can you remove the key? He said, no, the key can't even come out. I said, madam, is your gear in drive or park? She looked and she saw that the thing was in drive. She was like, let me call you back.
She's
Why
gone.
are you calling me? Tell me, is it in park or drive? She left it in drive, switched off the engine. Of course, the key won't come
my
out
God.
because it's still in park. She wanted to start the car.
She won't respond.
When she realized that, she put it back to park, started her car, and drove off. And called me later in the evening. Sorry, I couldn't call you back. But anyway, the car started. Apparently, I didn't remove it from drive. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Shell. How would that have happened if I didn't just think of what to do? I would have had to leave what I was doing
Someone's
and then go, just move this drive to park and let's see what's going to happen. Make her feel like she wasn't doing something as well. So it needs to be communicated that even paint jobs, something as easy as a paint job, you cannot use singlets that someone has used before. Cotton is not smooth. If you take proper cotton wool and use it to rub your car, it will give you scratches.
Scratch.
Yes, because there are things inside cotton wool itself. So cotton is not soft. People think so. So you see, you don't know that.
I
A
didn't
lot of people
know
don't know these
that.
things. This is why my team is saying, yo, Mr. Sheon, you need a podcast. So you need to be saying a lot of things. I'm wondering, what will I say that you don't already know?
There are tons.
I'm finding that out.
There are tons.
I'm finding that out.
I think it's actually much needed.
Yeah.
Your podcast. What's it about?
Yes, so
discussing?
it's called Pole to Podium. The podcast is about teaching youngsters, teaching people how to be proper mechanics, proper drivers, proper race engineers, and all of that. So teaching people how to qualify from pole to winning the race and ending up on the podium.
That's interesting. I would like to listen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you some rapid fire questions. Which of your vehicle designs is your favorite?
MV. The third one that we've not done.
One.
That we've not
Okay.
finished.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
If resources were unlimited, what's the first project you'd undertake?
What I'm undertaking right now, a car vehicle manufacturing plant.
Describe your business journey using one Nigerian slang.
Kurukere.
Really? Kurukere?
Yes, now. Because sometimes it seems like everything is going smooth.
Yeah.
And then other times it seems like, yo, what's really going on here? Yes.
Interesting. What's the best advice you have ever received?
Focus on the big things in life, and the small ones will fall in place.
Nice. In Nigeria, if you don't dash, you won't survive.
If you don't dash, it looks like struggle. Because if it's Niger, it has to be that word has to be struggle. Oh. If you don't struggle, you won't survive.
In Nigeria, if you don't struggle, you won't survive. Or more.
Yes.
It's not easy.
Try not to come to work like 2 months and see if your bank account remains the same. That's when you know that you actually have a business.
Okay.
2 months.
So you have
8
to
weeks.
struggle through it.
Absolutely.
Would your struggle here also mean hustle?
Maybe I was looking for hustle.
If you don't hustle,
If you don't hustle,
you won't
you
survive.
survive.
And finally, I would like you to say a phrase or a proverb in your native language, which is Yoruba, that embodies your business philosophy.
In Yoruba.
Yes.
Yeah, I can speak
But-
Yoruba. Just that my favorite thing to say, I can't say it in Yoruba. There's something I would like to say, very interesting.
You can still throw that in.
Yes, it's Jack of all trade is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
So
That's
they told
my,
us
yes.
in an incomplete.
So I really like that. I really like that.
And
But
I imagine because it speaks to you
it
as a
does.
multi-talented person.
Absolutely. I have to say something else in Yoruba. Principle. I'm a Yoruba boy, proper one for that matter.
Yes.
Gone.
The whole point of this.
Okay. So you would have to forgive me because I will use January and December. Because I don't have a word for January or December in Yoruba.
Okay, January is... I know December is Okpe.
Wow.
Shere ireli ere no igwe bibi odudu agemo ogun owewe wa belu Okpe. January is Shere. December is Okpe.
Nǹkan tí o ní gbà ní oṣù Ṣẹrẹ má gbà ní no nǹkan tí o ní gbà ní oṣù Ọ̀pẹ má gbà ní oṣù Ṣẹrẹ. What you will not accept in December, start rejecting it from January.
We will take
God.
it.
I mean, manager. God.
Tell me,
Yeah.
what did this do to you?
Okay, so it makes me very principled. It makes me tell people when you come to our space, we tell you how we do things here. We are not going to accept from you what you think is your standard unless you have a good reason for it. Otherwise, this is our own standard here. What I'm not going to accept later, I'm not going to wait until you do it to tell you I don't subscribe to that. I'm going to tell you today.
Thank you so much, Sheung, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So before you go, our last guest has a question here that would like you to answer. Every guest on the show will drop a question for the
Okay.
next guest, and they would also drop a word. We call it the word challenge.
Okay.
A word that they would like for you to express in your own words and in your own opinion. The word from our last guest is structure.
Structure.
Yes.
Okay. That person must be an entrepreneur.
Yes, we speak only to entrepreneurs here.
Because structure is very key to running anything, especially if you're going to be running that thing remotely. For me, structure is similar to roadmap or like an SOP. So that's what I would get from structure. Once I hear structure like this, I'm already thinking, what have I not done that is going to make me go there in person? But if there were structures in place, everyone would have been put in positions where they optimally operate or fit in.
Fair enough.
Muti daru.
No, from my understanding of what you said, structure is a way to make your business
Absolutely.
together in certain places, whether it's via people or via machines, to ensure that you don't have to be in every aspect of your business all the time.
Then, yeah.
Okay, now to the question. It says, if you have to choose between wealth and growth. Which will you choose?
Wealth and growth. Can you be wealthy without growth? Can you grow without wealth? Yes, you can grow without wealth. Can you be wealthy without growth? You cannot be wealthy without growth. You need to outgrow something to be wealthy, unless you are inheriting this thing from somewhere. I would say growth can bring wealth. So growth for me.
Makes sense. So now it's your turn. Please draft a question for our next guest and a word you'd like them to interpret.
Nice. Right there.
Thank you. You've just experienced the vision, the resilience, and the passion of Seun Olawore. What's your next move? Remember, real stories, real strategies. That's how empires are built.